Good morning, everybody. Wee Paddy from across the shop, and just a wee quick video. Well, Paddy's quick video on three knives that Spyderco make, which are they're now probably this one, the Paramilitary 2, is probably the best known knife in the EDC world. Simply because it's a blooming good knife and it can do everything you want in EDC or in a work life. It can do nearly any job that you want it to do. It's big enough, it's light enough, it can be used for, as I say, any reason you want. They have now brought out the Paramilitary, or the Para 3, sorry, it's not the Paramilitary, it's the Para 3, and they brought it out in G10 and different blade steels. And then you have the Para 3 Lightweight, which is only in CTS BD1N, which really annoys me, but I'll come back to that. So what I want to do is give you a little breakdown of knives. If you're just into this collection game or this YouTube game, it used to be when I came around, the Paramilitary 2, the 940, the Benchmade 940, there was knives that you had to have to be part of your collection. I believe that is changing. That is definitely changing, even from Benchmade. And I'll do Benchmade probably after this as well. I'll pick three knives on the same basis that I've done these. So let's get into it. I mean, this is just for somebody who hasn't got one and wants a little hint or two about what's good to buy, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. So, the Paramilitary 2, its weight is about 4.2 ounces. Now, I've changed the G10 to this is an aluminium aftermarket scale, because I found the Paramilitary 2 was very harsh around the edges, especially if you wanted to hard use it and you were doing the full grip on it. I found it very uncomfortable, but that's just me. I changed it to aluminium and it's absolutely perfect. All three come with a compression lock, which are just amazing locks. Now, the cutting length in the Para 2 is 3 inches. The cutting length on the Para 3 is 2 5/8. The handle length is 4 3/4 on the Para 2. In the Para 3, it is 4 1/4. So about a half an inch difference in that. So there's not much difference, but this is a more substantial knife without doubt. The blade thickness is the same in all three. It's 0.14 of an inch. So, if you're out there and you want to buy knives for your collection, everybody sort of wants the Para 2, but be careful. When you look, I've fallen into this trap as well. Now, I've been very fortunate with a lot of gifts of higher end knives, but a knife is just a knife, and it's only as good as it suits you in your everyday life. Whatever it is, try not, when you're starting a collection off, try not to follow the trend, because it's too easy. And apart from anything else, it is so expensive at the moment, even more so 3 years ago when I came around. But at the moment, there is a huge amount of knives coming out every week, and you cannot keep up. Now, some of the boys do keep up. I just can't. I don't have the money to keep up. I have relied on people's generosity on my channel and just goodwill of people sending me knives for the channel that I probably wouldn't be able to afford to buy. I know in the beginning I definitely wouldn't have. So always be very careful. This is a hobby. This is not something you want to get into, like gambling and lose money you don't have. This is secondary to what you can afford. So let's start. Work knife. Paramilitary 2, probably the most famous work knife in YouTube history. It's been used and constantly and recommended, and it has proven itself as a good work knife. Now, as a hard use knife, I have some doubts. The tip is too fragile for me to call it a hard use knife. This is not a hinderer or, that sort of a knife, but it's a very, very good work knife, in my opinion. Again, it's been proved over and over again. It's an excellent knife. This the Para 3, is an absolute gem of a work knife. For me, it'll do everything that the Para 2 will do, but it's a smaller package. I have large to medium hands, medium to large, whichever way you want to do it, and this fits absolutely perfect. There's extra over at the end here if my hands were a little bigger. So a large-handed person, this to me is a perfect work knife. You don't have the extra length in your pocket. It's, it's just a no-brainer for me. Now, in saying that, the Para 3, this one's an M390. I would suggest getting a sprint run that has got better than this is the FRN handled one. The lightest of the three is in CTS BD1, which is not a powdered metal. It's just a good steel. But it's, for me and for the price range that these are coming in as, I would want better than this. So, again, we'll probably come back to that. So a work knife, I would go for these two. I would leave this one. And there'll be a reason for that. Now, for an EDC knife, I can quite happily say either one of these in either steel, whatever steel you want, these will be a perfect EDC knife. Whereas work knife, you might want that better steel to last a good day's working. EDC, in reality, if you're just buying a knife for EDC, it doesn't really matter what the steel is because you're not going to overuse an EDC knife. It's just going to be for cutting things. And these are pocket knives. And you have to remember that this is a pocket knife. This is something you're going to carry about all day. So make your choice, but either one of these three will do as an EDC knife. So that's a no-brainer. It's just take your choice, whichever one you want, and whatever your EDC is, then you can pick a knife with a steel or the length that you want. As a leisure knife, I'm going to rule out this one because it's big. It is a big knife. It takes up quite a lot of the pocket. Now, girth-wise, these are no different than this, but size-wise and handle, a bit shorter in the pocket. They do sit comfortably in the pocket, I'll have to say. This one for a leisure knife is perfect if you're going to wear tracky bottoms. This is only 2.4 ounces. This is 3.3. So there's not that much difference in them. Again, whatever your leisure contains, if it's just wearing trackies about the house and cutting bits and pieces, or, going down to the gym, this is perfectly good. And the steel is perfectly good for leisure. So don't get me wrong, CTS BD1's not a bad steel, it's a good steel. It's what you want the knife to do that's important. But you know for a fact in this one, this is my bugbear, you know for a fact that they are going to come out, they've started coming out with sprint runs for the G10. They'll come out with sprint runs for this, and I would want a minimum Vest 30V before I'm going to spend £100 on a knife. So, there we go. The fit and finish on these two has been pretty good. I haven't heard that many complaints on either of them. Sometimes the blade grind and the centering can be a bit off. My two examples were fairly good. This one, the blade centering is off, and it has been in nearly every knife I've seen. So now I would say maybe the new ones have overcome that. Sorry, that's my wife yawning in the background. Now, which one would I buy? And which one would I want for my collection if I'm just starting out? The truth be told, it is going to be this one. Now, I know this M390 is beautiful, but they do other sprint runs, and they have done, and they will be coming out with better blade steels for this. For me, if you can afford to get the sprint run, if there's still some out there, I would go for this in a sprint run steel rather than the CTS BD1. Just simply because then that covers it for all aspects. It'll cover it as a work knife, it'll cover it as an EDC knife, and it'll cover it as a leisure knife because it's light enough to be a leisure knife. I have found this so comfortable to use, so easy to use, and to be honest with you, although I do love all three, they are all three really good knives. This is me just being picky. I just would go for this one in a sprint run steel, not the CTS BD1. When they upgrade it to this, then this might become, because look, these plastic scales, between this and the G10, I don't think there would be any difference. Now, there's liners in this, there isn't in this. Can you move it? Yeah, you can a wee bit, but that doesn't affect how the knife works, to be honest. Well, I haven't found it, let's put it like that. And again, this is just my opinion. But for me, I will go for this one. Again, I love these two. There's nothing wrong with them, and I'm not putting them down. but just based on what uses I would have, I can get all three uses out of this, and I can't get all three uses out of the other two. So for me, that's just a pick, and it's just the way I break a knife down. Or when you've got a selection, that's what I say. I think I'm going to do it with Benchmade. I'll get a work knife, a leisure knife, and an EDC knife, and try and break the Benchmade down and give you a choice in Benchmade as well, because we all want a Spyderco or Benchmade and whatever. So thank you so much for listening to my old waffle. Look, this is my EDC today, and this will do everything that they can for my EDC today. So just remember that why you're getting a knife, don't get knives for other people. If you can, get knives that you want, that interest you and will fulfill your tasks. All the best. Paddy's away for this week's cup of tea before it goes cold, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Bye now. Tea time.